Here with you. I wanted to talk to you about collective narcissism, about national narcissism. We've been talking a lot on this program and in many other venues since really about a year and a half, 2 years ago when Donald Trump was jumping into the Republican race about his particular malignant narcissism, this form of narcissism that has become so extreme that it's become a pathology, that it's actually destructive. It's not just destructive to him, but it's destructive to the people around him and to the things he tries to do. It's one of the reasons why so many of his businesses have failed, one of the reasons why he's had to declare bankruptcy so many times, one of the reasons why he has made so many enemies in the business world. And it's just, his narcissism. It's me, my, mine. That's Donald Trump's mantra. Whether he's talking about, a mother that he actually, after he was embarrassed by the press, reached out to try to console. And then he says to her, the mother of a fallen soldier who died, 2 weeks ago in Niger. By the way, 4 Americans dying in a distant country and the president not taking responsibility for it. Wasn't that what the Republicans were screaming about with Trump, with Obama and Benghazi? I mean, what have I missed here? How is this any different than Benghazi? But in any case, so, Trump comes out and says, this grieving mother, first of all, comes out and very clearly and directly says, no, Donald Trump said, that, by the way, her name is Maisha Johnson, and not the woman or the wife, the wife of the soldier who died. And it's a symptom of this malignant narcissism. So Bobby Azarian over at Raw Story has a really interesting piece titled "Psychologists Reveal How Trump Tunes Into America's Collective Narcissism." And I would add that not only has he tuned into it, but he is amplifying it. The University of Warsaw found support for Trump to be linked to something called national collective narcissism, an unrealistic but shared belief in the greatness of the national group. And they talk about individual narcissism predicts interpersonal aggressiveness, whereas collective narcissism, and that's what we're talking about here, the number of people in the United States who have bought into this narcissistic idea that Americans are unique from anybody else on earth and therefore superior to anybody else on earth. And that therefore superior part is the part where it gets toxic. I mean, there is nothing inaccurate about saying this group of people is different than this group of people because of their height, because of their weight, because of their race, because of their national origin, because of their language, whatever it may be, because of their religion. To say, they're different in these regards, I mean, that's just factual, right? But to say that they are inferior or that we are superior in specific or general regards, that is where you get into this group narcissism or collective narcissism. And when the in-group, so you get a group of people who say, we're the ones who are the greatest in the world. And of course, the group that's saying that is mostly white men and secondarily white people. And, we're the best there ever was, right? And when that in-group perceives itself as being disadvantaged, writes Bobby Azarian over at Raw Story, when they perceive themselves as being disadvantaged comparing to outsider groups as opposed to the in-group, right? So this would be white people pointing to anybody who's not a white person. Perceives themselves as being disadvantaged compared to outgroups who are getting ahead of them unrightfully. That's known as group relative deprivation. In other words, the perception that our superior group, we are the best, and those inferior people are stealing from us. That's the narrative. Now, when you say it that blankly, that straightforwardly, that without embellishment or whatever, it sounds pretty crude. It sounds pretty crass. But that is the essence of the lawsuits, about for quote reverse affirmative action, the sales pitch, Donald Trump's sales pitch about we're going to build a border wall. So much of this stuff, the racism that is embedded in the Republican Party and in Donald Trump, and not to say it's absolutely absent from the Democratic Party either, but this has become essentially an article of faith in the Republican Party, that white people are under siege. And collective narcissism is when the group believes that they are the true representatives of the nation. In this case, white people. We're the true representatives, like that. And so what the author, Bobby Azarian, the author of this piece, writes, he says, by speaking to his supporters, an overwhelmingly white group, as being true patriots or real Americans. Just think about that for a minute. True patriots. In other words, there are people who are patriots, but they're not true patriots. And real Americans. There are Americans who are not real Americans, but they're actually Americans. By speaking to his supporters, an overwhelmingly white group, as being true patriots or real Americans, Donald Trump promotes a brand of populism that is the epitome of identity politics. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The right is constantly ragging on the left. The Republicans, actually, are constantly ragging on Democrats, saying, oh, you're all about identity politics. You just want to be nice to black people so that they'll vote for you, which is essentially what Republicans mean when they're using that phrase, identity politics. You just want to be nice to gay people so they'll vote for you. You just want to be, respectful of women so that they'll vote for you. This is what Republicans are saying. And at that level of identity politics, it can be kind of treacherous territory, because if you are just sucking up to any particular group just because you want their vote, not because you actually understand their issues or care about their issues, then you are at considerable risk. And I would say the Republican Party has been doing that with the white working class for, you heard Harry Truman from 71 years ago, for a long, longer than I've been on this. But the thing that's interesting about left-wing identity politics versus right-wing identity politics is that left-wing identity politics, Democratic Party identity politics, is generally the core of it, the core message is we're all in this together. We are all family here in this country, regardless of the color of our skin, regardless of our gender identity, regardless of who we think we are or what we look like or how we speak or where we came from or what religion we practice or who we love, regardless of any of that, we are all in this together. That's the identity politics on the left. The identity politics on the right is we're the true patriots, right-wing white guys, and if you're not with us, you're not a real American or a true patriot. In other words, it's almost the mirror image. It's like the bizarro universe of identity politics on the right, where they're saying, if you don't identify yourself with us, then you're not a real American. You're not a true patriot, to use Donald Trump's words. And that form of identity politics, that's, I keep pointing out that it's when you say, and therefore we're better, that it gets toxic. This is Hitler pointing out that there are going after the Jews and identifying that, hey, it's a separate religion. Yes, of course. But then saying, and therefore the German white race is superior. That's when it got dangerous. And this is the thing that these Republicans are flirting with. It's not healthy.